Mr. McLeod, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure meeting you too.
You are the president, CEO, and director of Sonoro Gold?
Yes, I am. I have been since 2014.
Okay. We're going to take a drive here, a morning drive on Sunday, first day of PDAC. And I look forward to hearing sort of an update on the company and a general overview.
Very good.
Okay, so let's start with capital structure. Current market cap of the company.
The current market cap is around $10 million, and it's trading at approximately 8 cents Canadian on 142 million shares, of which the insiders control 26%, and then a further 30% of the company is held by very, very close people who are intent on seeing us through all the way to production with the projects.
So you have a good idea of where about 50% of the float is?
Oh, at least 50 million. It's closer to 60%, yes.
Okay. When it comes to institutional support, where are you at on that?
We have no real institutional support. All the financings we've conducted over the past 5 years have been done by private placements with friends, families, and business associates. And so we've never had a broker coordinate a financing for us. The sole institutions that we have are more like family offices, in whether it's in the U.S. or in Germany and Switzerland.
Okay. Where's the treasury at right now?
The treasury is limited right now. We have enough to keep the operations going. Okay. And whenever we have extraordinary expenses to attend to, such as a property payment, yep, we as insiders generally chip in, and we loan the company the money, and eventually 9 times out of 10 we convert that into shares in the next equity financing.
Makes sense. When it comes to your last raise, what was the valuation of your last raise?
It was a limited raise we did last time. I think it was in August of 2022, and it was $600,000. Okay. Just to take care of the payables at that time, and add a little bit of extra for the treasury as well. Okay,
got it. We're experiencing a little bit of Toronto potholes right now.
We are.
Okay. Now let's get into management. You got involved in the company in 2014?
Yes.
And so let's run through that. How'd you get involved? Why?
Well, I was just coming fresh off a project in the Philippines that my private company in the Philippines was taken over in 2014. So I was looking for something to do, and I came across Sonoro at that time. Was introduced to the directors, and it was felt it was a good fit for me and for the directors to incorporate me into the planning and into the company at that time. Okay. And we started off with the one project, San Marcial project, and then we sold another project to Agnico Eagle in 2016. It was called the Cipriona property. We sold it to them, and then that enabled us to acquire the current major project, which is Cerro Caliche. Okay.
Other management that you have on board heading things off?
Yes, John Darch, my chairman and very, very long-term colleague as well. John has been involved in the mining business for the past 40 years, 35 to 40 years, having been involved in the development and the financing, development and operation of mines around the world, in Asia, in Africa, Greenland of all places, and of course in the United States and Canada. So he's my main colleague, and then I have 2 key managers in Mexico, which are running the operation in Mexico. One is Mel Herdrick, who is the Vice President of Exploration. And Mel is a legend in Mexico when it comes to finding gold mines. Over the years, he's been responsible for, directly or as part of a solid team of geologists who have discovered over 5 million ounces of gold. And notables would be the San Antonio deposit on the Baja Peninsula, 2 million ounces. The La Colorada deposit south of Hermosillo in Sonora State. That was a 1 million ounce deposit. So he was formerly head of exploration in Mexico for Phelps Dodge as well. So he's focusing directly on expanding the resource now at Cerro Caliche. And our other key operative in Mexico is Jorge Diaz, mining engineer, educated at Colorado School of Mines, and Jorge has been involved in the design, construction, and operation of 11 copper and gold mines in Mexico, over the past 35 to 40 years. So very much hands-on. He knows exactly how to get this project of ours into production over the coming year, and that is his sole focus on getting Cerro Caliche into production.
So you've got good boots on the ground to handle this Mexican project, which at this point, let's kind of get into that, I think. So you've got this open pit situation.
We do.
Where are you at with the permitting process? I know you've got a PEA, right?
We have a PEA, and we've now superseded the PEA with, we've hired SRK to do an updated resource estimation. And this was at the request of a preferred project lender. And they had a lot of reliance on SRK, so we decided to ask the project lender if we could hire SRK directly to update the resource. And that's what we've done. And so now we have an updated resource. We have several project lenders that are interested in providing the funding to put us into operation. And so over the next 2 months, the goal is to narrow it down to one project lender and focus on closing a financing to build the mine. Now, the permit, of course, is the crux of any activity going forward. And we're in the final stages. I like to think of it as a 59th minute of the 11th hour for getting the environmental permit. We believe that all the environmental, social, and economic conditions have been met. And so we're at the stage now where we're just waiting for the final word on the permitting. And we anticipate in the next 45 days we should hear upon that.
Okay. See, so that definitely seems like something that could potentially be, keeping the share price down if maybe people are waiting on that to come through.
Oh, absolutely. They show me the money is one, and show me the permit is the other.
But they kind of come hand in hand.
They come hand in hand,
right.
Yeah. And getting the permit will unlock the project finance. Project finance will unlock cash flow, and so the goal for the cash flow is myriad reasons for the getting into cash flow. But the most important one is to take the resource from where it is situated today to the overall potential, which we believe will be 3 to 4 times what is currently estimated by SRK.
So my mind is sort of going to this place right now. Okay, so let's assume forward-looking statement here that you get your permits, you get the environmental things sorted out, and you get approved, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got a depressed share price. The market's a little soft right now. You got to raise money to get this thing going. How do you not dilute shareholders? What's your game plan for that?
Well, the obvious game plan is to reduce the capital costs. And one of the issues that we were facing with as a credibility issue was initially when we were talking about launching the mine plan at 15,000 tons per day, the capital costs were in the order of about $35 million US. Now, when you have a market cap that's around $10 million Canadian, the two don't really add up into applying confidence to the financial community. So what we've decided is, yes, we're still going to produce a 15,000 ton per day mine, but it's going to be done incrementally. And we can start off, we can launch it at 4,000 tons a day, and within a couple of years double it to 8,000 tons, and another couple of years after that to 12,000 tons. So that way we are financing 80% of the project costs, so the capital costs, out of revenues.
And you're reinvesting it into the company.
Reinvesting into the company. And so the goal right now, only about less than a third of the potential of the known mineralized zones in the company have been investigated with drilling and assay. So based upon that, we still have a lot of drilling to do. Right. And if you want to calculate how much more drilling would be required, well, we have 59,000 meters of drilling currently completed, and we have a resource that is approximately, in total, we have the mineralizations of about 700,000 ounces in total, various categories. And so the goal now is, you want to double that? Well, do another 50,000 to 60,000 meters of drilling, and should get us to very, very close to where we estimate the potential for the project may be.
So you've got a pretty big near-term catalyst. Again, forward-looking statement, but that should come in the next 2 months. And then it won't be that hard to raise some money if you need. And then, of course, you're only going to want to raise what you need so that you can start generating your own revenue, and which is non-dilutive to shareholders.
That is it, yes.
And then take some of that money and explore a little bit more to expand your resource. Kind of where you're at. Summing it up there?
That's where we're at, and at some point in the future there will be an opportunity for us to go for equity financings, because we are inundated on a regular basis with invitations for, we want to work with you on a equity financing, but we don't want to do it at the current share price. We want to have the market reflect what we consider to be the true value of the company and the project, and that will be fully realized once we have the permit in place and we have the signal to go into production.
Okay. Okay, so we've covered the team that you have on the ground to handle this. It's an open pit, so it shouldn't be that hard to set up what you need to get started there. So what would be a timeline to make it all happen?
Let's assume that if we had the permit, say in environmental permit to construct in, just for argument's sake, April of this year, we could start the site preparation very quickly after that. Within 2 months, we're conducting the site preparation. Much of the engineering, in fact, 80% of the engineering has already been completed. And so it's but a 9-month construction process, because there are no significant structures that have to be constructed in order to get into production.
Right.
You have you upgrade the haul roads. Okay, they're already existing, so you just upgrade them to accommodate the larger trucks. You put in the crusher, and the initial crusher can be installed very, very quickly. It doesn't need large footings installed prior to erecting the crusher. The leach pad is probably the largest single item that will require some degree of construction. That's flattening out the leach pad area, plus strengthening it so that the pad is not distorted over time.
Yeah.
And then you've got the ADR plant to take the carbon and to then process it into doré. So it's not a significant amount of engineering and construction work involved at all. It's very simple.
Yeah, it does, and it's in a good place in the world where you can just go at it every day.
Oh yes, absolutely. There's no constraints as far as working winter, summer.
There's no snow.
There's no snow. No.
Just a couple Coronas.
Yeah, that is true. Or Don Julio 70.
I sort of, at this point, I'm very interested to know what your position in this company is on the equity side. Like, what valuation are you in at?
Oh, I'm underwater right now. In fact, all of the insiders in the company are underwater. The average share price for us, let's take the 4 main managers in the company: John Darch, Jorge Diaz, Mel Herdrick, and me. And collectively, like I mentioned, we have about 26% of the company.
Yeah.
Average share price is 20 cents a share. And in fact, I've purchased shares as high as 30, 35 cents. And so right now we're sitting way below at break even. And we believe very strongly that once the market understands the direction we're heading in for getting the permitting and getting the project finance and building this mine, it will reflect its true value into the future.
So somebody that's watching this that doesn't own any shares can get in at a cheaper valuation than insiders with a team. This is going to sound like I'm promoting you. My investor brain's just thinking here, right? So I can get in cheaper than you are. I've got a team with a track record of finding gold in that jurisdiction, managing projects in that jurisdiction. You have sold a private company. And you've got a go-forward plan to limit dilution in the company by using the gold that you have and reinvesting it into, cash flow, getting cash flow, taking that, expanding the resource by exploring. That's a pretty good game plan.
You've summed it up.
Yeah. I didn't sum it up as nice as you did. Actually, it didn't sound that good, but
you did a great job. I think, as far as I'm concerned, that's better than I can explain.
well, listen, I don't normally do this. Today's Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday. I am going to speculate, sir, and buy some of your stock tomorrow. And I will say this: I've never actually said that in any one of my interviews. Never.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm going to buy some of your stock tomorrow morning, and today's Sunday. I will own some shares tomorrow. I'm going to speculate with you. I say speculate because you have to get that environmental study done.
Yes.
Right? Or you got to get your permit.
Until that is done, it's speculation, absolutely.
But I mean, I'm not trying to jab you here, but I'm just pretty happy I can get in cheaper than you.
And you are.
And you got to do the work.
And I've got to do the work.
Drive around
I'm working.
people.
I'll be working for you starting tomorrow.
Oh, jeez, this is looking good. This has been a great interview. Is there anything that we haven't touched on? Something that you would kind of want to, put out there to your shareholders, your current shareholders, maybe an update to them, and then also something maybe to new shareholders potential that we haven't covered yet.
I believe that the current share price is a reflection of the market in general. It's not a true reflection of the value of Sonoro. And so we need to get the news out, and with your assistance as well, we'll go out to a wider audience so that people can understand that we're at a real critical juncture right now. That is, we're within, I would say, a month or two of getting the environmental permit. That will change the nature of the company. That takes us from an exploration company to a company about to go into production. And the valuations then will eventually be based upon how much of a revenue are we going to generate over the coming years. And I believe that we will be able to demonstrate a very strong revenue forecast once we put out the next edition of the PEA. And so what is that going to do for the current shareholders? It will enable the current shareholders, like me, to start realizing a return on investment versus being underwater. And then the next item would be once we are in production, the goal is to keep expanding. And so we're not going to rest on our laurels. We are going to keep on expanding out of cash flow and also develop the second project we have, the San Marcial project, which has equal potential value to the Cerro Caliche project. But the most important element right now is we have only explored adequately through drilling less than 30% of the potential mineralization that we've demonstrated so far in the property. So I believe that there's much room for the shareholders to really appreciate some major gains over the coming 2 to 5 years.
Okay, so assuming you get your study done based on your PEA, what gold price did they use for your resource?
They used $1,800 gold.
Okay, so we're just over that right now. Just
just over it. Yeah, that's
just
right.
over it. Okay, so if you get that study done and you get your permits, what multiple do you think the stock should be trading at? What valuation should someone say? Okay, the market's forward looking. You should, based on where the revenues will be and your reinvesting plan, what do you think this stock should be trading at?
Well, that's all over the map, and I hate to make those kinds of predictions simply because it all depends on how the market is viewing gold companies at that time. Is it 5 times earnings? Is it 10 times? I don't think it's 10 times because these were the glory days of technology companies. But 5 times would be within the realm of reason, I believe.
Just kind of wanted to get out what you would like to see it at trading at as a. But
I know where I would like to see it, and I think that from a comfort perspective, 143 million shares issued and outstanding right now. So let's assume that by the time everything is said and done, there will be warrants exercised and options exercised. So we're 200 million shares. I'd like to really try to relate it to the value of an ounce of gold in the ground. And if you look at an acquisition by Agnico Eagle in November 2017, they bought the Santa Gertrudis project, which is just 10 kilometers to our north. And at that time, there was probably around 1 million ounces had been demonstrated by GoGold, who was a previous owner. And they sold the property for $80 an ounce, effectively, $80 an ounce in the ground, plus $12 of the royalty. So $92 an ounce US, which translated at that time to $120 Canadian approximately. I believe that would be the kind of valuation I'd be looking for if we're going to be considering some kind of acquisition by another company in the future. But our goal right now is to get the number of ounces up to a point where we can feel comfortable in accepting proposals and reviewing proposals from outside, because we currently have received expressions of interest from several parties.
Yeah.
But of course,
you're not going to touch that.
We only have a grand total. If all the mineralization totaled up right now is about 700,000 ounces. I'd like to see it doubled before we, even contemplate any kind of offer from an outside party.
So you mentioned warrants. We didn't talk about that before. So what warrant? The warrants that are out right now in the company, they're underwater, obviously.
They're way underwater.
What's the strike price on it?
Strike price is 30 cents in the majority of them. There are some at 22.5 cents. We believe these have a fighting chance of being exercised in the coming year, and they're generally with people that are quite close to the company.
So do you remember the timeline on them? I think you can actually file to extend them if you want, right?
You can, if there's a merit to it, but the main body of the warrants would be approximately 75 million or so, are at 30 cents, and they expire this year, 2023, starting off in April as to 20%, in June another, I believe it's about 30% or 10%, and then in December the balance. So will they get exercised? Well, if the conditions are right, and we have a tailwind and reasonable weather in our stratosphere here, then we can get them exercised. But I believe that they may expire without being exercised, at least the majority of them.
Okay.
Well, on the way we're executing our business plan, we made a conscious decision 3 years ago that we would develop enough ounces to get into production to generate a reasonable cash flow without over diluting the shareholders. And we're at that juncture. We stopped drilling in May of 2022 for that purpose, because we have enough ounces now. We have enough of a resource that enables us to get into production, generate the cash flow, and I mentioned, based upon our business plan, keep building up the size of the resource until we're comfortable with the eventual outcome. Now, whether that be twice the size of the resource we currently have, 3 times, or even 4 times, time will tell.
Yeah.
But that's a reflection of how that drill bit is going to deliver the goods to us in the future.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm going to speculate that you're going to get those permits. I'm going to assume you are, but that is speculative in nature. I would imagine, I haven't looked at liquidity. I would imagine you probably don't have too much liquidity in the stock. What's your average trading?
I think it's around 2.5 million shares a month. It would be over the past 12 months. Okay. So it's not intensely liquid, but it's also a reflection of the fact that the market has been very, very slow in the junior resource sector, especially in the gold sector.
Well, yeah, and I mean, a lot of, let's say 50 to 60% of the people are currently underwater, so they're not selling. Anyone who's selling right now is selling at a loss, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
yes,
so as things pick up, we might be able to get some, I should talk as if I already own the stock, but you might be able to get some people to start selling if you get it up into the 20s and 30s and 40s.
I would imagine so. And the cheapest financing we've ever done was 15 cents. Nothing has ever been financed below that price. So, there will be liquidity. It's a function right now of having the story to the widest possible audience and increase the daily volume. And that, of course, attracts more buying as well. So what you're going to be doing with us is going to be very beneficial for bringing new eyes to the story, and we'll continue to expand our sphere of influence both in Germany and Switzerland, and also the United States as well, and of course in Canada.
I hope you have a fantastic rest of PDAC. I wish you nothing but the best with all your meetings. And, I'll be gauging the investor sentiment towards, the end of PDAC, but great. I'm going to wrap it up here.
Perfect. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
All righty.